no matter how experienced you are, that learning curve never stops. I mean, there is some form of a plateau, if you could say that, when you captain and but you will never stop learning. You'll fly with the first officer or something, and they'll come up with a question that you've never heard before, and you might not necessarily know it offhand. And yeah, I guess it's that drive of never stop learning is something that I'd have to say is one of the things I love about flying.
Griffin, it's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to meet you as well.
You've been in the simulator or been training. What have you been doing?
So I been finishing up. I actually finished up today with the multi-crew coordination and also my ATPL license upgrade today, which was successful. So I'm really, really happy.
Oh, congratulations. Wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So it's a long journey for you pilots to get to where you want to be. And I've also spoken to a few South African pilots and we talked about this. And I would love to know what was the whole love for aviation that got you into this position and to become a pilot?
Without sounding too much like a poet, but how it all started, I don't come from an aviation family, I'm a first generation pilot, if you could say that. My first taste of aviation, without flying somewhere on holiday, with actually being the pilot in the situation, was I went to a friend's house when I was about 11, 12, and he had a Microsoft Flight Sim. So, and it was a game that I wasn't interested in the time, but only because I wasn't exposed to it. So had a go at it, and I was over the moon. I fell in love with it very quickly. I actually distinctly remember my mom picked me up later that afternoon from his house, and I just shy of demanded that we need to get a joystick and the game as well, because I wanted to play it more. So I think shortly after that, I think it was either my birthday or something, and I've got the gifts and all the rest of it, and never looked back. That was my starting point. But I would say my actual love of flying, whenever someone asks me that, I just sum it up with a simple sentence: if I'm stressed out, I go to work. There's I don't know, there's something special about just, obviously, doing all the work and the flows and checks and everything and getting the aircraft in the air. But the actual sense of just flying an aircraft from point A to point B, I find it incredibly relaxing and stunning. The views you get it's like you're in a moving picture, really. And if you add in, like, I've got a Lightspeed headset, so I just listen to music when there's nothing to do, really. And it really feels like you're in a music video. So I can't see myself doing absolutely anything else in this world. I love what I do.
But also, I mean, you had to now. You want to become a pilot, but in South Africa, it's a bit different. You have to sort of go a specific route to be able to train and so on. Did you have to do much of that yourself, or could you study through an airline, for example?
In South Africa, to my knowledge, there's no real airline that has any recruitment cadet program. They all hire a really qualified as far as you can go without doing a Boeing 737 rating on your own. But you are required, rather, to have your at least commercial multi-engine rating, some time on multi as well, and preferably some work experience as well. Whether it's through instruction or flying skydive ops, or even a charter, working with single engine rather, and just building your hours up, building experience. But as far as cadet programs go, I haven't heard of any.
So how did you get into to train? Because you had to get your PPL first.
Yes. Yeah. So at 15 years old, I started with I would say a young pilot program, which wouldn't lead to anywhere, but it would have just, it was a nice building block because they taught you they say like the stick and rudder kind of controls of actually flying an aircraft, the hand-eye coordination and using the rudders with your feet, and the basic principles of flying are taught. And if you show any promise, then they would prompt and recommend that you go further if you have the means to. Lucky enough, myself, my parents, they have the means. So I did my PPL at 15. I actually tested PPL a few weeks after my 16th birthday. So I was actually allowed to fly a plane before I even had my learners to drive a car.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's so interesting that it works like that.
Yeah, it is what it is. So that's I did my PPL, and then from there completed high school. Parents didn't really want me flying too much, being my grade 12 matric year in South Africa. So finished with high school first, and then after that, night rating. I did that as well in Cape Town, where I'm from. And then after that, I moved to 43 Air School in the Eastern Cape, and that's, I would say, South Africa's biggest air school. It's another big air school, but 43 is one of the renowned ones. Did my commercial multi-engine over there.
And how long did that take you to get your commercial license?
Yeah, so I very much, I didn't really have a deadline to do it, so I treated it like a university course. And so in saying that, I would go for 3 months at a time, and then just go for like a 2-week holiday. But overall, it took me about just over 2 years to complete that. And then, after leaving 43, came back home and then decided, okay, well, now I need to build some experience. So, you got to kind of pick a lane at this point, initially anyway. And I decided to do my instructor's rating just because I felt that it taught you more about flying, rather than I felt that if you go straight into charter work, in my opinion anyway, it kind of just feels like you will learn things along the way. That's a given. But there's no real guidelines. You can pick up bad habits and all the rest of it if your company hasn't got a nice strict SOP, that is. But overall, the instruction, I felt that it would just teach me something, and also it would teach me how to fly on both sides of the cockpit as well. So becoming a little more ambidextrous with both hands. I just felt overall immediately when I started my training, I picked it up quite a lot, was you learn how to teach people things, which is not easy, especially when you're dealing with 20 students in the space of a week. And each one of them are different people, obviously. So it's different techniques and different habits that they have. And you need to be able to also manage yourself a little bit and change your approach anyway on how you need to teach them, because not everyone is the same. So I just felt that was the right decision. And I was lucky, the air school that I did my instructor's rating in my grade 3, they actually offered me a job before I finished the course. So I started working there, which was a little bit of a stroke of luck, but I put in the work, and they like what they saw, I guess. So I'm happy about that.
Well, it's so amazing that you say that, because I've been speaking to a lot of musicians as well, and they say when they teach, they actually learn more for themselves as well, by teaching and explaining and also seeing the mistakes that the student make.
Yes.
Then they sort of understand it also better. So can you also see that the teaching?
I would 100% agree with that. Especially, it's also a nice thing because just because you're the more senior person in the cockpit, it doesn't mean that you will never learn from the person sitting next to you. So you are constantly reminded, especially with different people, they have different outlooks, different understandings of things, and therefore also different questions to ask. So people ask you questions that you've never thought of before, or you've never had asked to you. So it forces you to go through the books, have a little search, or just chat amongst your peers even, or your chief pilots, and just discuss things. And along that term, they learn something, being the student, and you also learn that little question that you didn't know, which is also very, very refreshing, and something that I love about flying. It's, no matter how experienced you are, that learning curve never stops. I mean, there is some form of a plateau, if you could say that, when you captain, and but you will never stop learning. You'll fly with the first officer or something, and they'll come up with a question that you've never heard before, and you might not necessarily know it offhand. And yeah, I guess it's that drive of never stop learning is something that I'd have to say is one of the things I love about flying.
Well, Captain Rian van Zyl famously said that in one of my interviews, that
really?
you're never too old to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not the only one that's.
And he said that you learn from you can have so much experience, but you still learn from the younger. He said that from the younger pilots,
yes.
he still learns.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I would agree.
Yeah. But now, so you've got your instructor's rating, and now you have to build up these hours. And this I find so fascinating, that you guys have to now, because I'm thinking, if you say 1,000 hours or 2,000 hours, an hour is already, you have to have 2,000 of those.
So I mean, I've gone a little bit further than my grade 3 now. Because I did my grade 3, got a couple hundred hours on the basic ab initio training, and then COVID hit, which was a lot of fun. But that kind of shook the tree quite violently. But luckily, Air School survived it, and I continued to work with them after COVID. And we actually had a huge bump in students after COVID. I think the travel bug, or the inspiration to do something that you never had time for. People had a little bit more time to think, like, that's actually a good idea. Well, that's my theory anyway. So I did my grade 2 instructor's rating, so it allowed me to do advanced training, night training, IF training as well, and built up a total just over 1,000 instruction hours. And then last year in March, I had an opportunity to work for a charter company on a 9-month contract. I'm actually on holiday from that now. I'm meant to be going back on end of March at the moment anyway. My total time just a little bit over 2,000 now. So I've built up time, but now it's kind of like filling in the gaps a little bit. Completing the MCC course, getting like the RNAV GNSS approved, and the ATPL license upgrade, which is a big one. So I'm glad to have completed that. Now personally, I'm on the march for multi-time, because I'm multi-rated in that, but I haven't been able to fly a multi-aircraft and build hours on it. So that's my next step. And then thereafter that, it's more into, hopefully, higher up in the corporate flying or airlines for me, because getting on those jets is kind of the next step.
That's the aspiration then to do.
Yes.
But like Alex McPhail also said that this is a career where you never stop training. You have to be tested, you have to train, you are constantly have to do your check rides and your things. So this is also challenging about your career. So you have to be in the know all the time.
Yes. I would, that's 100% correct. So everything, even your check rides within your company, which is I think every 6 months, and then your license as well, which is once a year for Comma 80, or all of them. I actually enjoy them, because as long as you are recent, then the check rides, they shouldn't be a scary thing that you need to worry about. So it's more so they are there to stop any bad habits forming. They're there also for you to because, like I said, the aviation landscape is constantly moving. So when improvements come into law and that, then when you do your check rights, that's when you are face to face with a DFE, which is designated flight examiner, and they are leading the industry per country. So you meet with one of them, and they will then say, "Well, look, this has actually changed this year, and it's a little bit of an eye opener. Like, okay, cool. So we're not doing this anymore. This is how they want us to do it," and it's just basically like a little bit of an update, if I could call it that, and then also to make sure that you can still fly the plane. Yeah, I mean, I personally, like your first renewal is always a little bit scary because you don't exactly know how a renewal is meant to go. But everyone since my first one, I've actually really enjoyed it. I mean, a little bit of prep work is always important, just cover your bases and that. But I would say the biggest advice I ever got was walking to a renewal with the idea that you will learn something, and it's a learning exercise. They are there to check you, but at the end of the day, they're not there to catch you out. They're there just to update you and make sure that you're still proficient in what you do.
So to have that open mindset when you do that.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that's one of the most important things about flying. You have to be open-minded about almost everything.
Really. But now, Griffin, how do you keep motivated? Because since that, what did you say, 11-year-old playing the game? To now, there must have been times where you thought this process is a long process.
Yeah, it is long, and you write a theory exam, and one of the subjects is say it's boring. I particularly found instruments, which is one of the PPL, COM, and ATPL subjects. I found that subject quite boring, just because it just talks about how the instruments works and radio wavelengths and different antennas and all these things. And I just said, I'm not interested in building a radio. So it's something that you do need to push through. And yeah, it's all. I would say just keep the bigger picture in mind. If you love what you're studying and what you're doing, flying planes in this case, then you will have the bad days. But I'll just recommend a lot of cups of coffee and just keep going.
Okay. Yeah. But now, where are you? You say that, I mean, you would love to go to an airline or like to fly an airline, but now this time where you are sort of building your hours, how many hours do you still have to have before you can, or before you are, say, ready to apply for an airline?
Yeah. At the moment, I know the two main airlines that operate within South Africa, being FlySafair and SA Airlink. They are quite strict on the requirement of 200 hours on a multi-aircraft, ATPL being a big plus, but a common license is also okay. But that 200-hour multi is quite important at the moment. And there are one or two guys that's just to get a variety of different types of pilots that they do hire. So not all of them have the 200, but it's definitely an important requirement just to have experience of flying a multi-engine aircraft before moving into the jets. I also think that the insurance requirements play a role as well, but that's the theory behind it.
Okay. So, and for you now, is it, I mean, what are the job prospects in South Africa? Because many of the airlines have closed down and yeah.
Yeah, so there was a big shift because in South Africa, I think a few years ago, pre-COVID, there was 4 or 5 major airlines operating within South Africa. But now there's 4 now, so we've lost 1 or 2, and the new ones have also popped up as well. Much smaller, streamlined, and more flexible to any sort of demand drops in the passenger load. So they're becoming a little bit more clever with the way they're structured. But in saying that, Airlink and Cimair and FlySafair are all getting new aircraft and are kind of plugging the holes that are left by those one or two airlines that did not make it out of COVID. The airlines they have survived. I would say the recovery is promising. Not complete yet, but I'd say definitely promising. And with SAA, our national carrier, scraping through bankruptcy and just making it through with, I think they have one or two aircraft. I could be wrong. They lost a lot of their routes, and these other airlines are now slowly but surely getting permission to fly their routes. So it's opening up the market as well with regards to Southern Africa and South Africa's airlines. The charter industry, mainly the hub being Joburg, is quite busy as well. But I mean, that's just me on the apron having a look and see. I don't know any of these companies' figures.
Okay, yeah.
But the airspace is getting busy.
Okay, so you feel positive.
Yeah, I do feel positive. I also know that South Africa does produce a lot of pilots. So, that competition is real. It's easy to see it. If you go to any air school or any instructors, there's a list of people there that are freshly trained and they are looking to enter the industry. There's a lot of pilots. So there is competition for the positions, and therefore making sure that you have all your boxes ticked and getting your requirements, I think, is a step in the right direction with regards to getting positions. But it's not the end all and do more.
Yeah. But now, Griffin, you also training pilots, and can you see in somebody when you think? Do you think everybody can fly, or do you think people have to have a specific something to be able to do that?
I think every single person can be a pilot, being for the PPL. There are definitely characteristic traits that would help you or make it a little bit easier for you to learn, just mindset and all the rest of that make it easier to become a pilot. But nothing will stop you if you're physically fit and willing to do the exams and open to learning the techniques. Then you might not do it as quick as everyone else, but you can be a pilot and you can be a successful pilot as well. When it gets to commercial, obviously there's a lot of other aspects to take into account, but I think everyone should, if you can and is interested in you should definitely give it a go, because I mean, you might just actually personally know someone who changed their career, had a nice architecture company, and he's designing buildings all over Africa, and I did his introduction flight, and he fell in love, and he then decided he wants to be a pilot. So did his PPL with me, did his commercial license with myself, and then now he's an instructor. He still has his company, but he's now stepped back and as just as the owner really, and now he's an instructor building his hours as well.
Amazing. Well, I spoke to a commercial pilot, Brad Mears, as well, and he is in his 50s, and he got his commercial license. So if the drive is there and the motivation is there, then you'll do it. Yeah,
there's no better time than the present.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you're right. Over the pandemic, people have been thinking, what they're doing and what they're doing with their lives. So I think this is also some way of people changing direction or, doing things that they always wanted to do.
Yes.
But now, Griffin, what are your wishes now for the future?
This year, definitely multi-hours. I need multi-hours. Whether I make my way into an airline or into a more of a corporate or higher end charter company, flying a multi-turboprop or jet, that I would say is my goal for this year. Where in the world, I actually don't care.
Okay. As long as you fly.
As long as I'm flying, I'm happy. That would definitely be my goal. But in saying that, the company I'm currently with treats me fantastically. They look after their pilots as well, and it's a good position to have. But I'll definitely, if I could pick an area that I could make changes in, it would definitely be just that multi-aircraft. Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling it will all come true for you. You've got the motivation and the drive and
Thank you.
This wonderful energy. So yeah, I'm sure.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
But I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for your time for doing this interview.
Yes, thank you.
It's absolutely such an interesting career that you are in, and I find it so fascinating what the pilots are telling me, because it's you really are dedicated, and you know, you have to have this drive to do it.
Yeah, I would 100% agree, and thank you for asking to interview me. I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic.
Is it okay?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Okay, Griffin, have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for getting out of the simulator to talk to me.
Not a problem. Anytime. Thank you so much. Enjoy.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.